What's going on, everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know who it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression podcast, brought to you by MSOTG Rocks for Rock and Metal Thrive. Wishing you a happy Tuesday, everybody. It is November 3rd, and yes, in America, it is election day, but I know there's a bunch of stuff going on with every side kind of going after each other, but listen to this podcast because this is all about bringing everything together and about bringing rock and metal back to the forefront in the minds of the mainstream so we can all, enjoy rock and metal again as the most prominent genre around. And this episode, I get to talk to Cassidy Paris. Now, who is Cassidy Paris, you might ask? She is a pop rock artist out of Melbourne, Australia. And if you guys listen to our Wicked Smile episode with Stevie, this is Stevie's daughter. So it was an incredibly fun conversation because we got to talk about many things regarding rock and metal, many things regarding women in rock and metal, and bringing, those bands that have those incredible sounds even more up to the platform, like Hailstorm, like Ginger, and bringing up those smaller bands as well, just kind of getting that inspiration going in order to get rock and metal back in the mainstream and come together as a community in order to make that happen. So please sit back and relax. This is a good one. So please welcome Cassidy Paris all the way from Melbourne, Australia. Are you ready? So let's go. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression podcast, you remember a couple of weeks, actually about a couple episodes back, we had Stevie from the band Wicked Smile on, and he was consistently promoting his daughter's music on there as well. And I thought, let's go check it out and see what we think of it. And this is the first time ever that we're doing this. We literally had a dad on, and now we have a father and a daughter right after. It's a full family affair here on the Chord Progression podcast. Over and please welcome Cassidy Paris to the show. So Cassidy, welcome to the Chord Progression podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
Thanks for being on. And oddly enough, being in the exact same room that your dad was in when we did this. So this is literally just like deja vu for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I'm really looking forward to having a cool conversation with you. So it's going to be fun.
Awesome. Well, how about we just jump right into it? So I always start out with this, and I always enjoy the answers. So I want to know is who you are, like your name, what you do, especially because I know you are the frontwoman for what you're doing. So I just want to know exactly what that all entails. And then I did this to your dad. I've done this to everybody else. I want to know a little fun fact about you, but I don't want it to be just a little fun fact. I want to be the wackiest thing you can think of. So I've got some crazy stuff. I mean, your dad told me that he was a substitute teacher as well. I'm like, how did you get to be a teacher and a rock star? Like, that's awesome. So let's see if you can top that.
So I'm Cassidy Paris from Melbourne, Australia, and I'm a female rocker. I have just released a new single called Like I Never Loved You, and I'm really, really excited about that. We have a new video out, and I'm working on a full-length album. The most strange thing about me, I'm actually going to throw in something controversial here, and I do throw this into a couple of interviews, and I get mixed response, especially from like Americans. I love pineapple on my pizza, and I know that's a bit of a controversial thing to say because I've had this conversation with my mates, and they're like, no, it doesn't belong there, but others are like, it just belongs there. So I don't know about you, but I love pineapple on my pizza. I live for it.
I'm definitely on the other side of that argument where I do not think pineapple should be anywhere near pizza. However, I've had this conversation many a times with my best friend because we lived together for a year and he's full on vegan. So like he'd get pizza, he'd get a bunch of vegetables on there. Then sometimes you just get pineapple pizza. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And we just would go back and forth about pineapple on pizza.
Oh my God, that's mad. I've never had like just pineapple, but in Australia, I know it's a bit different in America. You have like the traditional like cheese, and I think it's like hot salami. I don't know if it's called it's called pepperoni there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I go over to the States, I love that. Like I've been over to New York and Chicago, and they make some of the most kick-ass pizzas I've ever had in my life. But Australia, they just like whack a whole bunch of different ingredients on there, and I love it, but some people hate it.
like I understand like throwing a whole bunch of ingredients on there because last weekend I was hanging out with four of my other friends. We were having a poker night at one of my buddies' houses, and like it was like 11 at night. We're like, dude, we need some food, so we just ordered some pizzas. And because one of my buddies is vegan, he's like, can we order one without meat? I'm like, how about we just order 2 deluxes? Let's just leave the meat off it. So there was just all these different like mushrooms on there, peppers, onions, like any kind of vegetable you could think of. Like they threw it on there, just kept off the meat, and it was I mean, when it gets there like 11:30 at night and you haven't eaten since like 4:30 in
Anything
the
is good.
afternoon, it tastes really good. However, I'm more partial to keeping it simple, where it's if I'm gonna get a pizza, I want just put the cheese on there, load it up with pepperoni, and I'm gonna stick with that. But if I had to pick between a New York style pizza and Chicago style pizza, I've got to go Chicago. I'm a lot closer there. I live an hour and a half north from Chicago, and the deep dish pizza for me is the way to go.
Well, here's a funny story. The first time we came to Chicago, my dad was gigging there, and we had no idea. My family had no idea that they had those like traditional deep dish pizzas. And I remember my mum going to order a pizza, and she was like, "Oh, we got a pie," and I was like, "Wait, no, that is a pizza." And then we Googled it, and it was like, I know I sound completely uncultured saying this, but we Googled it and it was like the traditional Chicago pizza. Best thing we ever did. It was delicious.
Oh, easily. I remember a couple of years ago, the girl I was dating at the time, her and I were down in Chicago. I was like, okay, where are we going to go to eat? And she's like, well, we're going to go to Giordano's, even though it's more of like a chain kind of style restaurant, but it's for like specific for Chicago, but they just do deep dish pizza. I'm like, well, they're doing deep dish pizza. Hell yeah, we're going to go. Got there,
Yeah.
got like the smallest one you could get. And I think we took half of it home because
Yeah.
it was just, it
You
was
can
like
finish
it was like 3 or 4 inches thick. And I'm just like, oh, yes.
It's the best thing ever. And I think Giordano's, did you say?
Yeah,
That
Giordano's.
was the place. And we always go back there when we go to Chicago. So
Oh,
that's
no
like
way.
one of my favorite pizza places ever in the world.
Man, Lily's just giving you like flashbacks to when you guys were in Chicago. Just like, oh my God, he said the name of the place. He knows it.
That's why
Ah!
you'll see me in the camera go.
Yeah, I could
when
see
you
that right when I
mention
said it.
it.
You're just like, no.
I know.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, but that is one of the wackier facts that I've heard in terms of just the conversation that's gone off on there. I have had your dad with the substitute teacher thing. I had Theo from the band Ego Kill Talent. We got into this whole conversation about meditation after his. I still think the craziest one I ever had was I had this band from St. Louis, Missouri, here in the United States called Broken Youth, a metalcore band. It was 3 guys, and all 3 guys opened up their phones for their wacky fact and gave me their Tinder bios.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
It was hilarious. And then they're like, well, what about you? I'm like, all right, guys, I'll oblige. Alrighty, let's open up the phone. Already, I said mine. I had them laughing because it was just all I have is just a joke on there, and it just it always kills whenever I tell people it, but never works.
Nah, too cool. But
But
on the note of my dad being a substitute teacher, the crazy thing in my family, because my mum's also a teacher. So that's where my mum and dad met at university. I think it's called college in America.
yeah, but when you
And
say when you say university, like I know exactly what you're talking about because I like when I've talked to people over in like England, over in Europe as well, they all say university. I'm like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. But it's where I went. I mean, they still call it the University of Minnesota, so it's just I've got University of Minnesota shorts on right now, so it's like, yeah, we're up in school, woo.
yeah, exactly. But I'm actually obviously a musician, but when I finish school this year, I'm actually going to train to become a teacher as well. So it's going to be a big teacher musical family once we're all done.
That is one incredibly like weird coincidental thing where all of a sudden your dad's a teacher and a rock star, your mom's a teacher. They met while in college or at university, whatever you guys prefer that you're listening. And then here's Cassidy literally following the exact same footsteps as her father, becoming a rock star and also going to be studying to be a teacher. I mean,
Yeah.
this is just wacky.
It really is. And I think growing up, my dad was cool, always like, and I'm gonna sound like a little bit biased here, but I always thought my dad was one of the coolest teachers at school because he would always like, blast like rock music and plug the rock scene at school, and everyone was like, what? I've never heard of bands like Def Leppard and Aerosmith and all these really cool bands that I love, and Van Halen. So I don't know. I think I want to become a teacher like that as well. So yeah.
And then you're going to be sitting there and all of a sudden it's like you're going to be teaching it if you haven't gotten the international stardom at that point, we'll put it that way. But it's like kids will be coming in and all of a sudden they're going to be walking and they're going to be hearing stuff like Hailstorm just blasting through your classroom. They're going to be like, what the heck's going on? They're going to look in there and you're just going to literally be belting out the words alongside Lizzie Hale. It's just going to be like,
Yeah.
how the heck does she have that kind of a voice? And then instead of kids going to like music class with a music teacher, they're going to end up coming to you and be like, teach us, please.
Yeah, I'm all for that. And speaking of Hailstorm, here's a funny story. When I was in year 7, we got this assignment to make a poster of your favorite musical artist or band. Everyone's doing, I love Taylor Swift as well, but Taylor Swift, Demi Lovato, Pink, all these big name celebrities, and I choose Hailstorm. And I remember my dad and I worked all night on this big poster of a guitar, like in the shape of a guitar, and had all the facts about Hailstorm. And the next day when I went to present, you had to pull up a video, and I pulled up Apocalyptic, and my whole class looked at me as if, what is this? What is this chick doing? I don't understand. And it was funny to me. I don't know why, but yeah, everyone had no idea what I was doing. My music teacher probably thought I was insane, but I was wrapped. So
I'll say, don't worry. I kind of went through the exact same thing, except instead of people, my school music teacher, my classmates, where I went to school, instead of everyone thinking I was insane, they all thought I was satanic because I went to a Catholic school. Like in 7th grade or year 7, I kind of had the exact same thing, but the band I chose, that's where they all thought I was crazy and really not following suit because everyone was choosing like all those like pop artists. Like I'm trying to think of like Justin Timberlake, Kanye, because Kanye was Akon was big at the time. And then there's me. It's just like, all right, Kevin, who are you going to pick? I'm going with Disturbed, guys.
oh, iconic.
Oh, God, they were not happy with that, especially in like when I was in 8th grade or year 8, as other people around the world would say. Here in the U.S., we're just weird. But we had this thing where it was like, okay, like one time, like once a week, we got like this like study hall period where people, you can come, if you're the person we can come, you can bring a CD, just play it, and we'll just listen to it. And everyone's bringing like Carrie Underwood, again, Justin Timberlake, that kind of stuff. I was thirded, and this was like right after the Indestructible album came out, so I'm like, let's go. And I played 2 songs, and I'm like, I know I have to skip Deceiver because David Draymond just screams fucking in at one point. So I'm like, okay, let's just skip that one.
Yeah.
Right after Inside the Fire, I'm like, okay, let's go up and skip it. And all of a sudden it stopped. I'm like, huh, why did it stop? Yeah, the teacher kind of pulled it on me.
Oh, that's disappointment. I was surprised when we got to the second verse. We actually got past the second verse, and I know there are a couple of swear words in Apocalyptic, and in a year 7 class where everyone in my class was like really innocent, and they're hearing Lizzie Hale scream these swear words, and my teacher didn't even turn it off, and I was like, this is gold. This is absolute gold.
Probably one of the reasons why your teacher didn't turn it off, she's like, because one, these kids are going to appear in it eventually, or they've already heard it, but they're just like acting like, oh my God, I can't believe she's playing this in school. This is so scandalous, that kind of stuff.
No.
Or it's like, if I try and punish her and I bring this up to her parents, they're just going to think that this is the coolest thing ever. And your dad be like, I helped her with that. That's me too. Like, I'm proud of her.
I think my dad plugged it on his Facebook that night. He was like, you know what? Great parenting when your daughter loves Hailstorm and wants to do a massive poster and present it to her class. I was like, okay, you did something right there.
Oh, he absolutely did something right there. I mean, he like through him, like he helped get you into like realizing what rock and roll is all about, and end up getting you into music as well. I'm assuming because he's a musician as well. You guys are traveling the world together, so it's like, okay, it makes total sense. You kind of are engulfed in that lifestyle, and if you're just like, this is what I want to do, go for it. Why not? And from when I was talking with your dad, I mean, he seemed like he's fully supportive of everything around this, so you definitely have a good support system around you.
Yeah, I always say I'm so lucky and appreciative to have such a fantastic support system around me. Like, even I've worked with like heavyweights in the industry, like Paul Lane from Danger Danger, ex Danger Danger, The Defiance, and I'm with Wicked Smile. I've also started working a little bit with Daddy Chicati, the singer, and he's so awesome as well. And even the Radio Sun, my dad's other band, Jason Old's been really cool. So yeah, I'm really lucky to have that fantastic support system, and I think also my parents are also people that have always been the leaders in follow your heart and what you aspire to be, and hopefully you'll succeed. So I'm really lucky in that aspect.
You are, because one other thing I always think about too is when you look later down the road in life, like say you're like 70, 80 years old, and like you're kind of like held up in like a house or retirement home, like just staring at the ceiling, like, oh man, I can't really do as much as I used to. What you're gonna
Yeah.
end up doing is you're gonna end up looking back in life, and instead of thinking about the things you wish you did, like I know a lot of people that kind of just, they got out of high school or got out of college, got out of university, they got that steady job, they did the classic roadmap thing, got a job, got married, had kids, just lived that kind of life, retired. They're gonna and just didn't necessarily go after the dreams that they wanted to go after because they wanted to play it safe.
Yeah.
They're gonna end up looking at back in life, and they're gonna end up looking back with it with regret. And I've talked to people about this, and I've seen it in their eyes, and it is painful as all hell to look at. And but it's inspiring at the same time too, because then it's like when I get to that point, I don't want to be looking back and thinking about the things that I wish I did. I want to look back and think about the things I did do.
Exactly. I completely agree, and I think to have said that I started my musical career in high school, where everyone was like, What's this chick doing? I'm confused. Like, she's listening to rock music. That's strange. Like, why isn't she listening to Kanye West and all those, as you said, pop artists?" Yeah, I think I'm really happy that I ultimately chose to do that. And even if I did have to struggle in some ways and overcome some obstacles, I'm really happy and excited for the future. So yeah, I 100% agree.
Oh, totally. And especially like going back to high school as well, because I was kind of that kid as well, where it's like I was always like just kind of there because it was like I never really fit in anywhere. Because it was like, okay, the popular kids is like, yeah, everyone's playing sports. Like I played soccer, that was my thing. It's like, okay, so they know of me, but I'm not gonna hang out with them because, of course, they're all doing all this stuff like and like the music they're listening to, again, all the pop music. And here I am listening to bands like Disturbed and Rise Against and Hollywood Undead like crazy. It's just like
Yeah.
that doesn't fit in with them. So I'm just kind of like I was literally just like on my own at the whole entire time, and it sucked. It sucked for a good portion of time, not gonna lie. But then all of a sudden, once I found friends that I used to have, like when I was in grade school, like become friends with them again, and then like go outside of just the high school I was at. Oh my god, it was so much better.
Yeah, 100%. And I've had this discussion with my parents on many occasions. In high school, I didn't really, in a lot of ways, click with a lot of the typical crowds. Like I was listening to music and going to concerts every weekend and listening to my dad's band and rocking out with my dad in the living room instead of doing my homework. But no, I do that as well. But it always comes first in my dad's eyes. But if I can sneak in a little bit of music into my schedule, then that's pretty cool. Yeah, I think yeah, that's really cool. And I think also I was listening to bands like Van Halen, and I know that is a more mainstream rock band that a lot of people know, but a lot of people didn't know it at my school, and I thought that was kind of strange. And I walked into high school thinking, people know the top Kiss songs and know AC/DC and Heat. Well, not Heat, but yeah, I think people. It was strange for me, and I think ultimately I made friends with a lot of people that I didn't really see eye to eye in music with, but we kind of educate each other. Like, I don't think some of the songs, one of my best friends, I just introduced him to Heat. And I was like, look, check out Eric Romwell. He's one of the best performers I've ever seen in my life. These songs are killer. You've just got to listen to it. He was like, you know what, Cassidy, this is really cool. And he's a guy that listens to George Ezra. So
There's a lot of things going on there, but I mean that's cool in a way, to the point where it's just, you understood what you wanted to do, you understood the music that you liked, and you just were confident enough where it's just like, you're not going to let that peer pressure come in and dictate that you're going to end up listening to stuff. Because that did happen to me back when I was in grade school, because it was, I mean, I grew up listening to the same bands you did, like AC/DC, Van Halen. I mean, the first song I remember having a full-on memory of is The Dream Is Over by Van Halen, because that was the first song on this set list that my dad had, that when him and my brother, when I was like 2 years old, would go in the basement with his tower speakers, we just blast music and like air guitar like crazy. And imagine me being like a little 2-year-old kid just like trying to air guitar. Probably looked funny as all hell. But it's like, I remember that. And then like when I went from one grade school to another, it was just me trying to fit in, so I just completely stopped listening to that. But it wasn't until like Guitar Hero came out and I started playing, more of the newer stuff just on Guitar Hero. That's how I got into Disturbed. So then it's just that kind of just started building up more of like a distance between myself and everyone else that was around me at the time.
Yeah.
However, it was definitely worth it in the end because it was something that built up who I am as a person and helped build up my confidence in myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I have a kind of a similar memory. My dad would blast Hailstorm and even like Van Halen Panama in our car when we were driving to school. We'd rock up, and my dad would like stick the horns out, and everyone would look at us and be like, "What? They're crazy," you know. So a similar thing, I guess.
And just having fun with it too. But that's always something that, when you listen to it, it's just you're going to have those memories over and over again. Especially every time you listen to Panama, just dropped off at school and your dad just probably going like, Panama.
100%, 100%. That is the exact way he would react to that song.
Okay, the crazy thing too is I know it's like if some point, down the line, all of a sudden I have kids, I have to drop them off at school, they're whatever the hell other people are playing, all of a sudden I'm going to pull up and you're just going to end up hearing like, especially in October, you're going to pull up and all of a sudden you're just going to hear Ice Nine Kills blasting from the car, and just all of a sudden it's just people are going to be freaked out what the heck's going on. It's going to be just, and I'll probably end up wearing like one of my t-shirts that has evil Donald Duck or evil Mickey as Freddy Krueger. So I'll just freak out everybody.
Yeah, 100%. I think even to this day, I'm the person in year 12 that rocks up with the rock music cranked really loud. I have a little golf car, which is, a lot of people say to me that it's a stereotypical white girl car, and it's a little bit contradictory to blast like heavy music in it. But I'll be blasting Wicked Smile. I know, plug. But yesterday I rocked up to my my mock exam, and I was blasting Wicked Smile, and Danny's just belting out these notes, and people were like, "What?"
Just come up with a little car outside, you just hear, "Wait for the night."
No, it literally was that. I can't even express. It was the exact same thing.
Oh, I've done that before, and it's probably the best story I have from that, like doing something like that, was this when I worked at the full-time job I was at before the one I'm at currently that helped support this whole entire thing. What I did was like I pulled up, it was right one of my last days there, and I pulled up and I was blasting The Beautiful People by Marilyn Manson. And all of a sudden, somebody pulled up next to me. The guy had to be like in late 50s, early 60s. And like I could see him out the corner of my eye, like turn and look at me. And all of a sudden, like just like the pre-chorus started, and I just kind of like stared. I'm like, I'm turning around like this. And I just kind of turned around like, the beautiful people, the beautiful people. It got to a point where all of a sudden, like I walked, like he ran into the building, like he was freaked out. I'm just like, that's funny. I walked into the building. I went upstairs, got to my desk. About a half hour later, all of a sudden, like building security comes up and they're like, do you work here? I'm like, yeah, guys, what are you talking about? They were telling like, oh, we heard somebody complained about you like freaking him out blasting Marilyn Manson. All of a sudden I heard some like other people that worked around me, they're like, yeah, that's definitely him. That's just his style.
Yeah, that's the best thing I've ever heard.
So if people are ever like freaked out, like wondering, like, you're driving around, like, because you said it was a Volkswagen Golf.
It was Volkswagen Golf, yeah.
Yeah, so you're driving around and people are just like looking around, like trying to be like why is there hard rock heavy metal music coming out there? Blast The Beautiful People. It gets people every time.
Yeah, that's next on my list. I'm gonna drive to the shops later today, and it's within my 5-kilometer zone, which is legal in Melbourne at the moment, considering the pandemic. So I'm not breaking any rules, and I'll be blasting that one.
Nice. Already, I'm very happy to hear that, because. And if you have a video, if you like make a video of it, I want to see it, because I just want to see this all of a sudden just like driving around, just the beautiful people. Okay, maybe.
I'll be sending it.
Okay, I'll say okay, maybe drive, but then have your dad record in the passenger seat, so we're not breaking any traffic laws either.
No, I wouldn't be doing that. I'll get Dad to do all the videography.
And mostly because I'm pretty sure he'd be like, "Wait, we're doing this? Let's go!" and just like run to the car.
I completely agree. I think I'm going to walk out of here after this podcast is finished, and Dad's going to be like, "We're doing it."
If he heard me talk about it, he'll be like, "Oh yeah, we're doing this." He might be waiting behind the door, just like right after this is over, just open up and like have it ready to go, like, "We're doing this."
Yeah, 100%. He's going to pull out his phone and plug it into the Golf, and there we go.
Perfect. But let's jump back more into your music as well, because one thing that I saw, especially on the bios and especially from talking with you previous as well, two things that you're really big on with your music are both anti-bullying and female empowerment. So why are those two things so important to you when it comes to making music and comes to basically delivering these messages through your music?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in regards to the anti-bullying, I'm actually an ambassador for Metalheads Against Bullying, which is really a organization that I'm really proud and to be affiliated with. Unfortunately, during high school, like we've discussed, I was a little bit of the outcast a lot of the time, and because of the music I chose to pursue, I had a lot of people making fun of me and throwing jokes around. And you know what? As a kid, that's not fun. And there's always been times where I've come home and I just, you know what? I didn't want to go to school the next day. And regardless of how many, I had a really, really great friend in high school, and I was really privileged to have that. But some people don't have that. So advocating for something like an organization like this, if I can bring something or my story or my perspective of how to overcome these challenges, that's the main thing. I want to try and help people, and if I help one person, you know what, that's a win for me. So but in regards to the female empowerment, I grew up due to like wide range of music my dad exposed me to. I grew up listening to people like Joan Jett and Pat Benatar and Lita Ford, and I really, really loved their music. I think, and also to be using that through my music and trying to portray a female rocker in an industry where it is very dominated by pop at the moment. I think that's what I want to bring back, and I'm really excited to be doing that and following that pathway.
Very interesting, and I kind of want to just dig more deeper into this. I want to start with the anti-bullying thing as well, because I talked to your dad about this as well, because he kept bringing up you definitely being an advocate for anti-bullying, being a part of that group as well. And I told him, like, yeah, when I was a kid, like, especially in that, like, when I switched schools as well, I was bullied as well, so I understand what it was like. And when it comes to just trying to share stories as well, it's just one thing I've noticed is, like, there's a lot of times where when it comes to kids that are bullied, it's just there's just got to be some sort of support system where they can go and be themselves in order to gain confidence within themselves, so that when they do face these challenges going forward, whether it's in high school, college, or even further on in life, they have the self-confidence enough to deal with those and and just kind of not be afraid to stand up for themselves and basically nip it in the bud as it goes on. Because there's times where I wish I would have stood up, but I was just too scared to at the time, because I just wasn't confident in myself. That was basically it. But as time went on, now it's just like anytime anyone tries to get at, like, kind of come at me, like with try and put me down or anything, it's almost impossible at this point, because not only how much I've been through, but how I've learned to go through it. And I kind of always talk about that as well at times, even on the podcast, whether it's through music that I listen to, and how it's just like, okay, I listen to some songs because they remind me of those horrible times, but it also reminds me how far I've come from them. And it's just like it's like that, like, Superman moment, just like, yeah.
Absolutely. And I think focusing on the growth through music and like personal growth, that's also been like a really prominent thing in my life. I know I'm gonna keep referring to Hailstorm, but I always keep coming back to it. But the strange case of that album was really awesome for me, because there are a lot of songs that really talked about being, you know, that outcast, and that it was okay, you know. And I think bands like that, I really want to be like that. And with my song Stand, it is very inspired by my experiences with bullying and standing up for yourself and defending yourself, even though it is a very difficult situation. And look, there's been times where, again, I've been like, had to bite my tongue and be like, should I say something here? Because, you know, there are repercussions with standing up for yourself sometimes, and you could potentially get hurt. But ultimately, I made the decision through music. I was able to make the decision to stand up for myself and defend myself, and just really take pride in what I'm doing, because I'm really happy about it ultimately.
And that's a perfect way to describe it too, because for people that are going through that exact same situation as well, it's always, there's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. It's one thing we never know is how long it's going to take to finally get to that moment. However, if you understand that you will get to that moment, you kind of have that hope there, it's gonna help. It's gonna motivate you to just keep working and gaining your own self-confidence to the point where, yeah, even if when you stand up to somebody, they might try and retaliate back, and potentially you could get hurt. I mean, I've gotten in a couple of fights beforehand over stuff like this. It's happened before. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. However, it's just through time, it's just you kind of learn more about it, where sometimes the people that are picking on you and that are bullying you, there's other things that are coming from them as well and why they're doing it. So there's sometimes it all depends upon how you deal with it as well, and it's all situational based. Sometimes sometimes it's best to deal with compassion. Sometimes it's best to deal with it with empathy. Sometimes if it's just nothing's going through and it's like, and there's going to be a fight that's going to break out. I mean, sometimes that just happens. It's life. It happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely agree with that. I think you have to reevaluate your situation. And sometimes, like you said, it's not always going to end up the best possible situation. And to overcome that and look at your personal growth and reflect on that is a really massive thing for myself and for many others in terms of these situations, because I have had to confront a lot of situations where I didn't know what to do. And I'd come home and I'd ask my parents what to do, or I'd phone my friend, my one only friend most of the time in high school, that just really appreciated me for me. And I think that's ultimately what you have to kind of reflect, how you kind of have to kind of reflect on the situations that you're confronted with.
Oh, absolutely. And then when it comes to bringing this more back into rock and metal as well, and I was talking about this with your dad as well, but I think it definitely works here, because when it comes to the rock and metal community, especially going to live shows, it's something where you never see any of that really, or from my perspective, I've never really seen like any sort of bullying really happen at those shows. And it's all because we're all there to connect with the music and connect with the bands that we absolutely love. How we connect with them is completely different. But the fact that we connect them and we get this positive reaction from within ourselves when we listen to them, when we see them, that's just something that connects us, gives us that full community, and gives us just this full-on confidence within ourselves, and it just builds up in there. And it doesn't, like, if you're in a concert, it doesn't matter if you're sitting on the side, just watch. If you're in the middle of the crowd, or if you're like me, getting thrown around the mosh pit and throwing people around as well, and at the end of the song, everyone's high-fiving and hugging each other because it's like, that was awesome. All of a sudden, the next song starts, and everyone separates because we're gonna end up smashing each other wall of death style. Like, it sounds crazy for people that aren't a part of the rock and metal community, but it's one of the coolest things ever, to the point where you can go to a show, you can know absolutely nobody. I do this all the time. I don't know anybody that goes to some of these shows.
By the end, you know everybody.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much, it's like, oh, you're the guy that almost broke his nose. Oh, you're the guy that had the giant cut above his eye and looks like a pirate now because someone gave him a piece of their flannel. You're the guy without a shoe. Like this, it happens.
Yeah, 100%. And I think there are these lyrics in Hailstorm about like going to a rock show. I don't know if you've listened to that song, but they were lyrics that really I felt like attached to. And I grew up and I always like repeatedly would blast that in the car, because it was one of those songs where I just felt so connected. And I really do believe that going to a rock show and sitting in the front row, or talking to your friends before it starts, and that pre-rock show feeling where like you've got like butterflies in your stomach thinking, oh my God, it's about to start. Like, it really is a community, and I'm really grateful for that. I see all the time and so thankful for the support I get worldwide. And I have friends all over the world, and I'm just blown away at so much support that I get for my music and what I'm doing and what I'm an ambassador for.
Yeah, and that support just resonates also through the rock and metal community as well, because everyone's gonna end up helping out each other. I've seen shows where people have been passing out in the crowd because it's been so hot and just humid, and just everyone's just like, some people can't handle it and they can't get out. So of course, what do we do as a crowd? Well, the security personnel can't come and get them through the crowd. So let's lift them up and let's crowd serve them to the front, because then they're going to be able to get the medical attention they need. Or when I was at a Riot Fest in Chicago seeing Rise Against, it was like one of their last songs, and I wanted to be like, I was in the mosh, I was having a great time, but there was some woman, she was about maybe 2 or 3 years younger than me. She was taking pictures for the Chicago Tribune or the Chicago, I can't remember which one it was, but she needed to get a better picture, and she was like, there's a lot of people in my way. She's literally turned to me and said, because I was talking for like a couple minutes before, and she's like, can I get on your shoulders and get this picture? Now, normally some random person goes up and asks you, hey, can I get on your shoulders to take a picture or something? Most people are gonna be like, what are you talking about? Who are you? Yeah. Me, it's just like, okay, we're at the same show, we're enjoying the same band. That's enough. Alrighty. And next thing you know, I'm like holding this person on my shoulder. She's getting good pictures. I'm like, alrighty, I'm helping.
Yeah.
Woo!
Exactly. I think the rock community is just, it's like no other in a lot of different ways. And we do connect with music in a very different way to how people in the mainstream would. And I'm really just excited to be able to play a part in that, hopefully, and continue to.
I think you will as well, especially taking a look at more of your music in a little bit more in depth. Because what I saw from it, especially from your dad describing it, because it's like you described your influence, like you had Joan Jett in there, you had Pat Benatar, you had Lita Ford, Lizzie Hale, and then there were also some other pop influence in there, like Pink. So I'm like, okay, let's take a listen to some music, and there's definitely that pop rock influence in there when you really listen to it. So, and I'll put it this way, personally for myself, I don't really tend to go for the pop rock style. I'm more of like that hard rock, punk rock, metalcore kind of style. That's just me though. However, when it comes to, like, again, today's day and age, especially with, people that are, I'm going to say your age, because I'm 25 years old right now. So it's like, I'm kind of still in that realm where it's like a lot of my friends are still really into what's new today, even though like I'm into what's new today. However, when it's me, what's into new today, it's like, hey, did you guys listen to the new Fit for a King album? Hey, did you guys listen to the new Salt debut? Did you guys listen to the new like Moss to Flames album? No one knows what the hell I'm talking about. They're like talking about like people I've never even heard of, and they're like, how have you never heard of them? But what ends up happening is what the stuff they're listening to, it's like you're kind of like with what you have, you're kind of bridging that gap a little bit, similar to what Machine Gun Kelly did, or MGK, whatever the heck anyone's calling him these days. What he did with his pop punk album, where I wasn't the biggest fan of his pop punk style. However, I can't bash the fact that he is bringing more people back into, rock music because of that. So it's totally understandable. And with your sound, especially with that pop influence in there, there's definitely that huge potential for that crossover to happen.
Yeah, and I'm really excited with what you're referring to there, because I think I always grew up listening to, like, the 80s rock. People was in the 80s rock scene, but also Dad exposed me to people like Avril Lavigne, who they really were that bridging person, which took elements of your favorite rock bands from the 80s and would rock a Van Halen shirt and actually know Van Halen songs. I think that I really aspire to be somewhat like her, and different artists, like even Pink, she does take elements of like, melodic rock. And I really love that about her, because I think it's something that's been absent in the scene for a long time. And I hope to bring that back to, because, rock music isn't dead. It is far from dead. And I think that it just really needs to make its way back into the mainstream, because, it is a genre like no other.
Oh, understandable. And for everyone who thinks rock music is dead, please let me know, because I will definitely, once COVID ends and live shows come back, I want you to come to a live show with me, because I'll show you that it's not dead. I'll take you to show, like, especially like I'll take you to metalcore shows where they're sold out completely. Everyone's packed in the basement, and it's just like, okay, what's going on? All of a sudden, next thing you know, Ice Nine Kills comes on, and they play for 2 hours. And no matter where you are, whether you're in the mosh pit, whether you're just outside the mosh pit on the rim, whether you're just like up front, on the side, way in the back, no matter what, you're gonna have an absolute blast given the whole entire thing. You're gonna love it. So it's definitely, it's shows where all of a sudden, like, I'm taking a look at the bands that are like because of the biggest venue here in Milwaukee. There's a ballroom upstairs. That's their biggest one. They've got a club level, and they got a basement level. The show I went to about a year ago, the basement level had the sold out show. The top level did, like the ballroom, did they have more people? Yeah. Did they sell it out? Absolutely not.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, as you said, bringing it back, rock isn't dead. I posted this thing on my Instagram story yesterday, which I thought was really cool. It said some little facts about since the passing of Eddie Van Halen, there has been a resurgence in rock music. And I think I'm really excited in that aspect, because I think it really did open people's eyes on how big of an influence a band like Van Halen had on everyone. Like, not just rockers, everyone. Like that, everyone knows Panama, everyone knows Jump. Besides, if you're the biggest fan, a lot of people loved Van Halen and will continue to love Van Halen. And I think it said something like, welcome to 1984, bitches. And I thought that was the best thing ever. I was like, this is iconic.
I didn't see it on your Instagram story, but I did see the exact same post. It was like 22 of their songs from the top 100 on iTunes, 5 of those in the top 10. And of course, one of them being Panama. I think it was Panama, Jump, I'm trying to think of the other three. I think Hot for Teacher was one of them because that song is just
Yeah.
absolutely fun to listen to. And watching the video, I still remember my dad he's like, oh yeah, you got to watch the music video for that. Like when I was like 11 years old, going on YouTube and they put it up there. This is like right when they're starting to put music videos on YouTube and we watch it. And my dad just like sitting there like, wait, should I be showing these kids this? And I'm just sitting there just like, Dad, what the heck are you showing me? And then all of a sudden we're just jamming out by the second chorus.
Yeah, 100%. And I think since like that was a massive shock to the industry and it was horrible, I think it did really in a way, and I was speaking about this with my dad the other day, the whole the whole rock music community, it stopped the day that happened. And I think it really did show, but after that, everyone came together. Everyone wanted to support each other to blast Van Halen music, and everyone was enjoying it. So I think it really did show the potential for rock music in mainstream again. Like I think that we were, I mean, in my household, the Janevski household, we were blasting Van Halen all day. We were looking at every single interview, learning different things we never knew about Eddie. Like it was a really, really cool day to reflect on the amazing life he had and how much he brought to the industry.
Oh, very much so. And one thing that I saw about the day that happened was because, of course, here in the United States, as let me check the day this interview is going to come out because I just want to make sure. Yeah, the day this interview is going to come out is the day of the presidential election here in America. So this is more political on it, but trust me, I'm going somewhere with this. So the day that happened when Eddie Van Halen died was the day before I believe it was our first presidential debate, and because everyone's always at each other's throats now with politics here. It's either best way to describe it was it's either my way or the die way. It's like if you're not with us, you're completely against us, so we're gonna go after you kind of thing. But the day that Eddie Van Halen died, it was incredible just because the response was everyone just enjoying Van Halen's music once again, everyone talking about their experiences through like find out about Van Halen, all the times they saw them. It was like everyone was finally coming together again because we all had something we could come together to. It's like, why can't we just keep doing this? Why can't we just always be this one rock solid community instead of just letting outside forces just basically pull us apart?
Yeah, 100%. And I think, it is devastating when something like it was. I remember because last week, or I think maybe it was the week before actually, when this happened, I had an exam. Well, they call it the general achievement test, and it's like basically this test that is just horrific. It has general knowledge, but it isn't really general knowledge for all these year 12s to kind of help back up their scores at the end of the year. And I remember mum coming in and she looked kind of like distraught. She was like, Eddie Van Halen died. It just like, your heart stops for a minute, especially when it's someone that like prevalent in the industry, and he made such a difference. He like redefined guitar playing in a whole different like way, 100 million ways. Like I think even I was speaking about to dad, and my dad just like we like didn't speak for the first like 2 hours of the day, but by the end we were kind of just reflecting on how much like of a role he played in the industry. And I think that was a really cool way to remember him. And I thought scrolling through Instagram and seeing all these different posts of Eddie Van Halen and the different things he'd said and the differences he'd made to the industry, that was really cool.
Oh, very much so. Because even for me, like I said, like that first musical memory I had is of "The Dreams Over" by Van Halen, and like the first thing I always remember is just for when it comes to guitarists, it's like for myself, like I like, of course, I'm a 2-year-old kid, I'm not gonna know much, but I knew exactly what that intro guitar lick sounded like. I remember everything about it. It was that riff. It was just incredible. I remembered everything about it. Like if someone puts it on for like the first like 2 seconds, not even that first second, I'm gonna know exactly
I
what song it
know
is.
it.
And
Yeah.
I've been listening to that song for almost over 24 years at this point,
Yeah.
consistently.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's really cool when you have those songs like that. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I think like a couple of things on Def Leppard's Hysteria was like that for me. I could pick it up within 2 seconds because that was something that was repeatedly played in my car consistently over my childhood. And there's this one video my dad took of me when I'm young, and Def Leppard's playing in the background, and it says, "Cassidy, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And I was like, "I want to be a rock star." And I was like, this needs to be played somewhere at some time in some sort of music video. I need to make this work.
Oh my God, you have to, just especially like if, as things progress, things pick up, as you get more of a following, as you really start to really gain on that, not only just, that whole entire just smaller presence, but that worldwide presence as well. You got to make a music video and have that just started out, and then just go into a full on, like, I mean, you could go on to like some full on like 80s style rock music video, or you could go into something like just more standard for today, but just full on rock and just kind of in your face.
Yeah, and I think an inspiration point in some ways for that was Marvelous 3. I don't know if you're aware of Marvelous 3, Freak of the Week. They had a video, and at the start of it, there all these different characters in it, like showcasing like their dad's a firefighter, their dad's a teacher, their dad's a doctor, and then this girl comes out, she goes, "My brother's a rock star," and I was like, this is iconic. That was one of the things as a child I always listened to and I looked up to, and I was like, this is so cool.
Well, because that could have been you in high school. It's like show and tell. It's like, or parents say, it's like, my dad's a firefighter. My dad's a teacher. You're good. Like, well, my dad is kind of a teacher. Well, else your dad? A rock star. And all of a sudden just comes with the guitar. Just,
I always said that as, what's it called, to my friends. They were like, "Oh, so what does your dad do?" I was like, "My dad's a guitarist. He's currently in Germany gigging with Black Majesty." That's pretty cool.
They're probably just sitting there just like, huh?
Yeah, I know. They had no idea what I was talking about. They were like, "Oh, awesome."
and then the next day they're like, well, you leave, and they're like, "Mom, Dad, what does gigging mean?"
Yeah, 100%.
It's like, well, Cassidy said that.
A lot of the time when I say that, a lot of people are like, "I have no idea what she just said, but I'm just gonna smile and nod."
Because once they figure it out, they're gonna look at them and be like, "Oh, and they're gonna be asking you all about like, oh my God, your dad's been on the road. Have you gone on the road with him too? You've been over to all these different countries. What have you seen?" They're gonna ask you all these different stories. Like, you're gonna be like the most cool person to them ever.
Yeah, 100%. But in relation to, on the note of like promoting rock music and bringing it back to the mainstream, I've actually joined a TV show which it's called Detox TV, and I'm really excited about it because every single person has a different connection to rock music. And as we said, we're speaking about before, we all have that one song that inspired us, and we thought, this is my music, And I think there are a number of people on that show, like there's Jim Ivins, which I had a little bit of a chat with the other day, and he's super cool, super into rock music, and bringing it back to the mainstream. Like, we had a show in Australia that did that a while back, and I was watching it, and Van Halen was on it, and I was like, you know what? That's really missing in the scene at the moment. Like, that was what brought rock music to the stage it was. And so I'm just really excited about bringing rock music back to the mainstream, hopefully.
All right, now I gotta ask this question because, like you said, everyone has that like one song that was like the end all be all. Like, this is what's inspiring. This is the song that drew me in. This is it. What song is that for you?
I'm gonna go with Def Leppard Animal, because
Ooh.
I love that album. I'm obsessed with Def Leppard. Ask anyone. That's just one of my favorite bands of all time. I have a little funny story about Def Leppard, actually, because we missed out on tickets because I was actually in Chicago at the time, and we missed out on tickets to the Australian show because my mum had a reminder on her iPhone, and sometimes iPhones, I love an iPhone, but sometimes they can be unreliable in a number of ways. And I'm not sure if it was the iPhone's fault or my mum just forgot to switch the reminder on, but we forgot. We forgot to book the tickets. We couldn't get them in the end. But then my dad came home one day from school. One day from school, it sounds like he's a student, but he's a teacher. And he was saying, "Oh, my friend has a ticket to Def Leppard. So I'm gonna go see Def Leppard tonight. I was distraught, but he did bring back a Def Leppard T-shirt for me, and I was like, hallelujah, because I watch Def Leppard all the time. I love their live shows. They're just incredible.
And like that's a song that ended up like getting you inspired to just make sure that you were gonna pursue music as your passion, as your dream going forward. And because they do kind of have that pop rock influence in there as well, so it does make sense.
Yeah, so I think the Def Leppard hooks also had like a massive effect on what I do in terms of like the genre I go for, and yeah, I've just always looked up to the performers in that band, and I love the songs, love all the material. So I think I'm gonna go with that one.
Understandable. I'm gonna match you on that, and then I'm just gonna explain why I match you on that because it kind of ties it in. Because for me, that song was always "Savior" by Rise Against, my favorite song of all time. Can't get enough of it. I remember back in high school, like listening to that song because like on the radio at least, like almost every single day my freshman year. It was like okay, or as the rest of your world calls it, year 9. But like just
Yeah,
driving around, I was just hearing it. My brother, his friends, didn't want to listen. I'm like, no, like you can't turn this off. I love this song. And then
yeah,
going forward, like I kept listening. I basically became the biggest Rise Against fan off of that. And then as time went on, still like the band. Ended up going to see them in concert at one point, and met this one girl at that concert. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. We ended up dating for like a year, but then after that happened, like after that ended, like my mind just kind of just everything going on in my life just completely just like went to shambles.
hmm,
So, and I didn't want to listen to Rise Against anymore because I had that connected memory. I'm like, well, this sucks because I don't want to listen to my favorite band anymore. So in my
yeah.
mind, I'm like, I've got to get that back. Like, I got to take this band back. I went to go see them live, and it was like it was like 2 hours to the point where I just didn't think about anything else except enjoying it. And I got that feeling back, and because of that, it led me to do this. So just like that one song has done all that, and it's completely different from your story as well. But the key is it's all from rock music. It's all from rock and metal. It's all from that. And it's even though we all have we all have one song, it's all a completely different like mindset on why we have that song. But the end all be all is it's a song that has made us pursue the dreams that we want to pursue.
Absolutely. And I think even in terms of, this is not actually a song, but this is kind of like a little turning point where I was like, yes, that's what I want to do with my life. My dad bought me, well, my mum and dad bought me a pink little guitar. And I know stereotypically girly and stuff, but no, I loved it. And it said Cassidy on it. And it was a little acoustic guitar. And there's a couple of photos of me rocking, an Ace Frehley t-shirt with this pink guitar. And I was like, this is the best thing I've seen. But I think that was like my dad taught me to play Smoke on the Water on that guitar, which is like, I mean, in my household, I think that was like the one song that was like, I mean, in a way, that was the one song where I was like, you know what? Me learning this makes me want to pursue rock music. And I think that was probably my point where I was like, this is what I want to do. I love going to my dad's shows. I love playing this pink guitar in my room, in my, you know, in the room with all these posters that my dad had. I remember him having like Danger Danger up there, and Van Halen, and Def Leppard, and Kiss, and AC/DC, and all these cool bands. And I was like, this is awesome.
And I mean, take a look at where that's led you to today, to the point where you've got you got multiple different songs out on Spotify right now. Shoot, I had it pulled up, but then I went to a completely different band on Spotify. So my bad, because there's a band
That's okay.
I was excited to listen to the album that it was supposed to come out on the day we were recording this, but then it got pushed back 1 week. So I'm just like, oh, okay. But I mean, you've
That's
been
right.
releasing music on Spotify for the past 3 years, a single every now and again. And one thing that I've seen from a lot of bands or a lot of groups, artist bands that have started out from that point is just trying to gain some traction. You take a look at like their top 5 on Spotify, and you always see that less than 1,000 streams on each song. I'm looking at
Mhm.
your top 5 right now as we're recording this, and the song that has the least amount of streams on that top 5 is your most recent song, but it's over 2,500 already.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about that. That was really really cool to see the response to "Like I Never Loved You," because that song is something that I wrote and it has a real connection to me. I think a lot of artists will say, you know, it was inspired by one particular person, but it really does apply in this situation. And I think that releasing that song was, it's always a little bit nervy when it's something so close to you, you know. So I think releasing that song was like, you know, it was like weights lifted off your shoulders. Like for me, I think that was the song where I was like, you know what, I can rock to this. I love this, and you know what, and I know exactly who I wrote this about. So it's really cool, and I think it was in some ways a combination of people that inspired it, but I just really love it, and I'm excited to have all these people really loving it as well. As long as people are enjoying the music I produce, that's a win for me. And I mean, as long as I'm enjoying it as well, which I am.
Alrighty, well now give me some time to break this down because I know what you're saying when it comes to you're releasing something that you have a message that's incredibly personal to you, and that I mean people that you know rather well and know you rather well, they're gonna be able to know exactly what's going on in that song. So it might be a little nerve wracking to release it because you're basically releasing your emotions out there in public, and it's like, okay, now people are gonna be seeing more inside of who you are, and they might end up judging it. However, I'm gonna completely try and get that out of your mind with saying this because in the music that we listen to with rock and metal, one thing that I've always been a major proponent of is be as authentic as possible within your music, within your writing style, and within your lyrics and within your message. And the reason behind that is because if you're going to be completely authentic with that, you might be talking about some of the worst stuff possible. You might be talking about some of the hardest stuff you ever went through in life. I talked with James Clark of Kill the Lights on their first album, The Sinner. That was all it was about, and it was just something where when you listen to those songs, especially from the listener standpoint for myself, when you hear those songs and you hear those messages, you're gonna end up be able to connect with those songs a lot more because while you didn't go through what those people went through, you might have gone through something similar, and those songs give that tangible like feeling to what you went through. And if you're trying to describe to someone, oh, what did it feel like to go through this? Listen to this song, listen to how it sounds, really engulf yourself in it, and you're gonna understand it. Then there's a connection between yourself and that band, and then you've got a fan for life right there.
Absolutely. And I've always been a big believer of that. I think from the release of my first song, I've always had a personal experience that I've based my music off. And I think that is really important to the capturing your audience, you know, and having your audience be able to relate to the material that you produce. And I think in some ways this song, I think because there was so many elements, I think it was my most authentic song. In There was so many elements that I knew every single line in that song meant something. It was so, like, I could really connect to it, and it was every single feeling that I felt during this whole period of trying to overcome an obstacle. And I think that that's really like it, you can see it in the song, you can see it in my performance, and I'm really excited about that, to have something that's so raw and authentic out there.
Yeah, because again, when we all go see bands play live and they play those really authentic songs, and we've listened to them, it's again this is live because it just hits a lot harder. It's because you're able to have that visual with it as well. You're able to just really feel what they went through, and then you're able to kind of relate that to your life as well, and just understand everything. And it gives a new perspective on life as well. Like I'm gonna use probably my favorite song from the year so far, coming out of Australia, actually, with the band Polaris, a song called "Above My Head," because it talks all about that point in time where it's like you're going through so much, it just feels like you're in way over your head, everything's crumbling down around you. And I listen to them like, this reminds me exactly what I went through between like halfway through 2017, early 2018, where nothing went right, and I just was just depressed as all hell. It was just a horrible time. Even though it reminds me of that, it reminds me how far I've come since then. So it's just like it's just so powerful with the way it's produced as well. And I've watched live videos of it. I'm like, can I see this live now? Because that would be that'd definitely be something.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like in relation to what you said there about connecting with something differently, you know, it may not be the same connection that the person that wrote it has to the music. And I think that's really cool, because I've received a whole heap of messages that from like all over the world, which is awesome, with people saying that I connect to this song, you know, for this reason, I connect to this song for another reason, and they're all extremely diverse. And I think that's like always something that's really cool to me, to see how a person has used my music that I produced to overcome something that was really difficult in their life. And like you said, I think there are a number of songs for me, in rock music and in other genres, that I'm like, you know what, this really helped me through this period, and really does show and highlight the power of music.
Oh, very much so. And if anyone else wants an idea of like what are like of like some kind of song in a video that goes along with it to remind you of that power of music, take a look at Disturbed's video for Hold On to Memories, but take a look at the live performance video compilation that they put together, because you're going to see so many people just so emotionally just letting everything out through when they're listening to that song. I mean, probably the one I remember most was there was a couple and they were holding up a little onesie that had like basically like South Park Metallica characters on it. And it's like, okay, why are they holding it up? But this one woman that I know, she's like the biggest strip fan I ever met. She told me that what ended up happening was like the reason they had that and they were crying so hard is because they had recently lost their infant. And it was like this song it was like the one song that reminded them that while they went through this whole entire thing, and it sucks that they're never going to be able to see their child grow, become an adult, and see who this child becomes. But it's the fact of the matter that you had this child for just however long you had this child for. It's just something that's incredibly powerful. Plus, if you watch the video, you'll actually see there's a bunch of people just are very emotional and crying. Except at the 2:37 mark, you're going to see that same woman that I talked about, very emotional, very getting into it. But then the right side of the screen, you're going to see one half of a face, and the person, the half of the face, is just smiling, looking like a total goof for some odd reason. That person is me.
That's the best thing I've heard. Yeah, no, I think it's awesome to see like things and identify things in music videos and in music that are really symbolic. Like a number of artists that I love really do relate to their fans and connect with their audiences by implementing these things that are really symbolic to them. Like you said, that the onesie that you said featured in that clip, you know, it was so powerful, and it's used as a tool to connect with their audience. And I think I always try to step out of my comfort zone and portray my life as like what's the word I'm trying to think of, true to it as possible, because you know that's how you connect with your fans. And I think that is such an important aspect of music, and in some ways some artists don't really understand that, and I'm really excited to have a lot of my music be out there and portray such a like it really aligns with my life entirely.
And you can already see the returns on that as well, because like you said, when you release Like I Never Loved You, and you're seeing different responses from not only just the people you know, but from all around the world, from people listening to this as well, connecting with this, and then letting you know how they connected with this as well. You've created something that is getting that kind of a response.
Yeah, I'm really like it is mind blowing as an artist to see how people do connect on like a number of different levels, and it makes me feel at ease, and it makes me feel like joy when I see that someone has used it as an outlet to help them overcome difficult things in life. Because music on many occasions was something that I looked to and I turned to, even when I did go through difficult periods in high school, to kind of overcome the situations. And it does make you reevaluate a situation in a number of ways. So I think that having my music do that, it's just something that's so super cool.
Oh, easily. And again, you're going to get those fans. I mean, that connect with you, you're going to have them for life now because of that strong connection that they had with that. And when, of course, once the COVID basically ends and we're able to go out and do live shows again, and all of a sudden you start bouncing around different parts of the world performing, you're going to end up seeing these people that come to these shows and you're be playing these songs, and you're going to end up seeing them sing along, but you're going to just see that emotion on their face when they're singing it. And I got to tell you, from every band I've heard from, and your dad could probably attest to this as well, when you see that on stage, you're just going to get this rush of not only adrenaline, but this rush of just enjoyment for the fact that you created something that someone is connecting with so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's such a cool thing. Like as an artist, I've seen that even when I've performed, like I performed at a festival before and I performed in Japan before, and you have people come up to you and they just look so like, I don't know, in awe of like meeting you. And it's such a cool thing. It's mind blowing to me because, you know, I'm just a kid in high school writing about her experiences and trying to bring rock back into the main industry, and to have someone relate to it that like that much, it's just awesome. I think having something that's significant in someone's life, it makes you think, this is this is what I want to do. And I always come back to that.
Oh yeah, it's always a thing where you can go back to it when if you're ever feeling down and out, and it's like you're kind of questioning if you want to be doing this. Always go back to that moment. Always remember what it felt like for that moment, and it's gonna be you're gonna end up getting this like jolt of energy, this jolt of inspiration. That's like, you know what? No, I'm not questioning myself. This is what I want to do.
100%. And there's never really been a moment in like in my life where I'm like, you know what, I don't really enjoy this anymore, because I always come back to music and I'm like, I love performing. I love getting up on that stage. I love feeling that adrenaline before I get on. I don't care, you know. I think Taylor Swift, in a way, like really hit the nail on the head when she said, the hater's gonna hate, because it is so true. And I think that overcoming that and seeing how much music means to you and identifying that, it just weighs out everything else that comes with it.
Yeah, because Taylor Swift's a good example of that. Another example for more of that rock metal style. Perfect example for that. Honestly, when it comes to just like always like haters are gonna hate, but just keep staying true to yourself, keep focusing on your goal, and it's gonna and if you keep working hard at it and you just focus on it, I mean, it's not gonna be easy. But if it was easy, everyone would do it. A great person for inspiration like that, honestly, is Ronnie Radke of Falling in Reverse, because that dude went from like, I mean, he's gone through a bunch of stuff, a bunch of different people that have hated on his stuff, and now it's just I mean, I put it this way. I've listened to Popular Monster pretty much every day since the song came out because I'm like, this song is awesome. And I've listened to even more stuff. I've become a fan of Falling in Reverse like crazy because of all this stuff. But it's just, you can really just feel like, you know, that's what they want to do with their life. They want to just keep making music. They want to keep connecting with people through music. And it's just, it's going to, if you're so dedicated to it and you put in all the work, all the time, all the effort, and you just keep going at it, eventually something's going to hit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I really do believe that something will pay off if you put enough into it. And that's why I'm just trying to put in my entire like soul into music, because I love it so much. I love the response and I love connecting with people. It just makes me feel so happy. And I think even like female rockers like Joan Jett, I was watching this interview with her a couple of days back, and it said people said that females can't rock. And you know what? I wanted to redefine that, because, and it's so true, because I think in a lot of ways before, rockers like Joan Jett, like Pat Benatar, like Lita Ford, like even now in modern day, like Lizzie Hale, Taylor Momsen, those people are what, you know, they really do are ambassadors for females in rock. And I hope to bring that back as well, because I think that in the mainstream has been absent like for some time, for a little while. And I think since people like Avril Lavigne, and I think that it needs to come back, and it needs to be there and prominent in the mainstream again.
Oh, understandable, because again, when you're talking about Joan Jett's like that like when you think like that stereotypical just like female rock star, everyone kind of goes back to Joan Jett because she just kind of had that, she had that rock star persona, she had that in your face style, and it worked out so well. I mean, I just remember watching Shrek when I was 6 years old or 5 years, I can't remember. Yeah, 6 years old. And during the scene where all of a sudden they're basically doing like the whole wrestling thing, like for inside the castle, and they're playing Bad Reputation. I'm just like, I remember I was 6 years old. I'm like, oh my god, they're saying, "Damn, this is awesome." But I'm just like listening to that song. I'm just like, the song went hard. It had that punk rock feel to it, and I'm just like, this is great. Just keep going with it. And then now it's like when you think of female rock stars now, when they're more mainstream, when you really think of it, I mean, you think of Lizzie Hale specifically. That's probably that's always like the top tier one to go with. However, the one thing is, when you think of female musicians in all of music, no one is really like, the mainstream is really gearing away from rock metal, like they're thinking of people like Carrie Underwood, or I'm trying to think some other country artists, but I can't think off the top of my head. Or you're thinking of like hip hop with like Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, or if you're going to more pop, you're thinking like Taylor Swift, Demi Lovato. You're not really seeing those rock and metal vocalists or front women or whoever it is in music, because I mean you got I can't remember the name of it's gonna kill me. I can't remember the name of her. Oh, this is gonna kill me. I gotta look it up though.
Describe. Maybe I'll be able to come up with it.
It's she's I can't remember her name. She's an incredible guitarist though. I think she's Alice Cooper's guitarist.
Oh, Anita Strauss.
Yes, that's it. I'm like,
I've met Nita. Well, I've met her at a meet and greet, and she's so cool.
because I think I remember it was like they had like top guitarists of the decade for the 2010s, and Nita came in at like number 3 or 4.
Yeah, she's incredible. I went to see Alice Cooper earlier this year, and I saw Nita Strauss, and one of my friends had a ticket to one of her meet and greets, and I'm just hearing her story, and I love hearing like how these people, like their different stories on how they made it into the rock music, how they connected with it. And Nita's was like, it was no different. Like, you know, it was something that I was like, you know what, that's like me. I really loved it from a young age. I experienced difficulties for loving it, unfortunately, but you know what, I continue to love it, and it's the passion that overrides everything, you know.
Oh, it absolutely is, and it's like that's why I want to see some of I want to see not only rock and metal get back in the mainstream as well, but see a bunch of those female fronted bands get in there as well, because of sometimes you see them, it's just like holy crap, how are they able to do some of this stuff, like get Hailstorm back in the mainstream. Take a look at a band like In This Moment. I don't really care for In This Moment as much, but I mean, Maria Brink's vocal set is so unique in its own way, where it's just there are so many people that really get into it, but you don't really ever hear it outside of like Sirius XM Octane. Ash Costello is another one. You mentioned Taylor Momsen. And another one is Tatiana from Ginger, because you get the like angelic vocals, and you get like those unclean screams where it just literally sounds like deeper than some of the guys can go. It's just like, yeah, why don't people know more about this?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like you really are on the ball with the idea that female fronted bands has been lost in a lot of ways as well. And I think bringing that back is something that it just needs to happen, because we do need females in the industry. They're strong and powerful, and they do rock harder than anyone else, you know. It's just, I think that it's such a cool thing to have so many different females become more prominent increasingly, because you know, a band like Hailstorm, they're someone that inspired myself to pick up the guitar, to sing, and you know, to work on my vocal set, and even like the Pretty Reckless, they also had a massive impact on me. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest reasons why we kind of need to like not only just again elevate rock and metal music, but also just like trying like I would say like just see if we can bring some of these top tier female fronted bands more to the forefront as well, where they deserve to be, instead of just kind of keeping them further back. Is just because when you think about it, the messages that that you're hearing and the messages that are being perceived through the different, it's gonna be different when you hear it come from a male vocalist, come from a female vocalist, just on the difference in tone. But that difference in tone can resonate so much differently with a bunch of different people as well. Plus, it doesn't hurt to also have you're having someone like, say yourself, like back to 7 years old, like all of a sudden just, you're seeing Lizzie Hale. It's like, it's being inspired by that. I mean, who knows who would be inspired to get into it if they saw Tatiana from Ginger? Who knows if they'd be inspired if they actually get to see Maria Brink more often? Who knows, get inspired if they got to see like Ash Costello perform and have more of that like gothic Halloween style, like Motions, what like Ice Nine Kills has as well, more on the male aspect of it. So it's just something where it's just, if we get more attention on it, then you're going to see some other things as well. And don't get me wrong, I've talked with a bunch of incredible artists and bands that are female fronted or all female as well. And it's just sometimes, I mean, they like there's a band here in the United States. They're from Florida. I've talked with them twice in the podcast. I've seen them once live. They're called GFM, or Gold, Frankincense, and Myrrh. And it's like if Paramore and A Day to Remember had a baby. Like it sounds like that. I was just like, and it's just like, okay, does this work? I'm not sure. You go and listen to one song, you're just gonna sit there saying, "Yep."
Yeah. I'm gonna get onto that, because I love Paramore. I'm obsessed with Paramore, and again, that's a band that had a massive effect on me, and like my decision to go with like a pop rock edge to bridge the rock and the pop music like genres together.
Oh, understandable. And like when I dove deep into your most recent song, of course, like I Never Love You, I'm taking a look at the note sheet I have because went through the song. Like I did a deep dive into it. I'm not gonna go super deep into it because I don't want to take up too much more time. But it's just somewhere I did like an overall, and I said this is my overall in the song. I'm like, overall, you guys know pop rock really isn't the thing that I care for because I like stuff that's harder, rougher. Again, think hard rock, punk rock, metalcore. And I told you about that earlier. I said, but there is something here that could bring kids back more into the rock fandom because of Cassidy's style. Again, think of the impact that MGK is having with his pop punk album. Mess it up. Okay, there's my mess up for the day. Cassie can do something of the same style because she understands how to use those hooky pop rock styles and create those songs that those kids can really get into and a message that they can also really get behind. Plus, she isn't afraid to blend even more pop styles in there as well that they would like. So we'll have to keep an eye on her career for this one because we could really have something interesting on our hands. And we should kind of, keep an eye on it. Maybe talk to more people about it because, the kids that are always listening to, I don't know, like the SoundCloud rappers or anything like that, or for pop music, whatever's being played on the radio. Yeah, they could get into this, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, we could have the next pop punk revolution on our hands, and then that could kind of sway back more into the harder stuff. Like all of a sudden, you're getting more hard rock, and the next thing you know, like thrash metal or metalcore is going to be the biggest thing in the world. You never know; it could happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely am a believer in that. And, bring rock music back to, I always refer to it as the rock revolution because we really need to bring the rock revolution back to the mainstream. It needs to happen. It's been absent for too long. And I think females and males working together to bring it back, it should happen.
Again, it's just, one thing we have to remember is with rock and metal, we all like the same kind of music. We all enjoy it. We all maybe enjoy it for different reasons, but the base and the end goal is we all enjoy it. We all love going to see it live, and we go and see it live. It doesn't matter who's playing. It doesn't matter if you like this band a lot more than I like this band. All that matters is that we connect with the band in some way, and we're having a blast doing it. If we can remember that and just kind of everyone come together and be like, we're just going to focus on, hey, let's just keep making rock music the best possible that it can be. Make metal music the best possible it can be. And let's see how we can, work together to get ourselves back into that mainstream role again. We can do anything. We just got to work together on it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's going to happen if like a lot of people band together and they support artists, because that is something that I'm a little bit fearful of some of the online outlets taking over, because I'm a really big believer in supporting, especially in a time like this, in a time where COVID is very prominent in all parts of the world. Artists are struggling, and to overcome it, we need to support them as much as possible. And when they get back out there, go watch your favorite live band, whether it's in 30 minutes away, or if you have to drive a couple of hours, take a road trip, because it'll definitely be worth it.
Oh, trust me, I've already taken a couple of road trips myself. Took a couple last year. There was a very small show up about 3.5 hours away from me about 2 months ago. Two bands that I've interviewed beforehand were playing there. There were about 50 people there, maybe, because of course COVID, everyone's spread out. I was one of them. I drove there in the afternoon. It was late at night, and I drove all the way back. Not my smartest idea to drive all the way back there, but I'm like, well, I'm going to see them, and I miss live shows, so we're going.
Too awesome. Yeah. And I think like people like yourself are really it's important, and I think that there are a number of people that are out there that are supporting rock music, so I'm really excited for the future of it.
I'm as well. And one thing I'm gonna have to do right after we get off this podcast is I'm gonna have to go outside, even though it's dark out right now where I'm at. I can see the sunlight coming through your shades. I mean, I got the window over there. It's completely pitch black outside. I'm going to go find a rock. I'm just going to write revolution on it. I'm going to put it on my desk, and it's going to be the rock revolution right there.
Oh, that is the best thing. I'm going to repost that if you send me a photo.
I will. I mean, I don't know where I'll put it. It might go next to something over here. It might go next to my little Spencer Charnas Funko Pop from Ice Nine Kills. It might go on. It might replace the TV. It might go on the little end table over there. I don't know. I'm going to put it somewhere, though.
Yep, there's going to be a rock revolution.
It's going to be a rock revolution. We're going to have the mascot. It's going to be a rock that says revolution on it.
Absolutely.
How punk rock is that?
Yeah, the best.
The best. And as we're about an hour 20 into this, and we've covered a good amount, and I think this might be a good time to just wrap this all up in a way, because we've gone through a lot when it comes to bringing rock music back into the mainstream, when it comes to being a female vocalist in rock and metal when it comes to not only bringing, again, rock and metal back, but also elevating some of these female-fronted bands to the positions where they could potentially really get to, but there's some things that might be just holding them back. Let's just push them up there. Let's just, and call it a day. Yeah. And also go into some more of the background as well, and start out, of course, with that debate over pineapple on pizza.
Exactly. A very, very important debate.
Very, very important debate. Got to bring it all the way back full circle. So, Cassidy, before we part ways and we go on with the rest of our days, where was I going with this? Do you have any final words you want to say? The floor is now yours.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Check out my latest single, Like I Never Loved You, on all streaming platforms, and on YouTube. I have a little music video that you can check out. Thank you so much for having me. I think it's been a lot of fun having a conversation. Let's bring back the rock revolution.
Let's bring back the rock revolution. And for everyone listening, you guys know I always do this. When it comes to finding Cassidy Paris online, whether it's on socials, on YouTube, on any streaming service, you just guys want that one-stop shop. You don't want to have to go out and search for it. So I'm giving you that one-stop shop. So if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or iHeart Radio, or if you're watching on YouTube, take a look at the description for the podcast, and you're going to see something that says Find Cassidy Paris online. You're going to see the labels. You're going to see the links. I'm making this a one-stop shop for you guys. You have no excuse not to do this.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And Cassie, it was fantastic talking with you as well. Again, the first combo of father-daughter that I've had on the podcast. So hell yeah. And when shows start coming back, when everything gets back to normal, once you're able to come back over the States and play some live shows, if you're around, again, that Chicago area, because that's probably the best way to describe it, if you're around that Chicago area, just send me a message that you're playing over there, and I'm going to make sure that I find my way down there somehow. I don't know how, but you know what? If I have to walk, drive, take a train, hitchhike, whatever it might be.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'll be hunting down that Chicago pizza, let me tell you. Even if I have to travel many hours to get there, I'm going to be rocking the place near you.
The only thing is, if you get that, if you might walk into Giordano's and we just gave away our last table, we're gonna have to wait a while, and all of a sudden you're gonna see me sitting there with a deep dish, just hi.
I'll be waiting.
Oh, I'm pretty sure at that point you might be screw it. You're just gonna run up, just take the piece of pepperoni, just be mine now, and just run away. Be oh, come on, am I gonna get a hello off of that? What the heck?
Yeah, probably after how many hours of being on a plane and so much jet lag. But you know what? You need that pizza energy to rock a good show.
Well, how about this instead, just to make sure that we don't go too crazy with this. So when you guys are able to return to shows, when you're able to if you're back in Chicago, how about this? If it's with your dad, without your dad, with whoever else is in the band, whatever it might be, let me know, because we'll find a way. We'll meet at Giordano's, and the pizza is on me.
Iconic. That is so cool. I'm gonna be holding that one too. Nah.
Oh, that's cool. I've got a list over here of where's my list? I've got a list. Is it over here? It's called the First Rounds on Me list. It's a lot of bands. If I've enjoyed talking with them, I have a great time with them. I literally just saying, hey, the first time I see you guys, First Rounds on Me. You're gonna be the first on the list for pizza on me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I'm just really excited about having people like yourself advocating for rock music. It's just so cool. And I love it.
Awesome. Well, just keep on doing what you're doing. And I'm not going to end this with a goodbye because, again, you're on the new pizza list right now. So I can't end this with a goodbye. This is going to end with a see you later.
See you later, guys.
Whoa, folks. That was my interview with Cassidy Paris, pop rock artist out of Melbourne, Australia. And yes, it is rock music, so we're going to feature it, man. I mean, some of TD rocks where rock and metal thrive. If it's got rock in it, we're going to feature it. I mean, alt rock, pop rock, hard rock, punk rock, prog rock, metal, metalcore, heavy metal, thrash metal. Yeah, we're doing all that stuff. So I hope you enjoyed it because we really got in deep with some of the stuff. So if you like the more of that pop rock sound, please check her out. You can check out all of her stuff, all of her social, all of her streaming stuff in the description of the podcast. And yes, we started the pizza list on this one. I had my First Rounds on Me list. Now I've got the pizzas on me list too. So this is going to be awesome. And that's me for me today, guys. Thank you guys for watching and listening to the Chord Progression podcast with the MSOTD rocks where rock and metal thrive. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one of these episodes with a big, healthy, and hearty. See ya! Yeah!